All right, we are live. This is Straight Out of Politics. I'm your host, Compton Jay, and let me unmute you. And this is my co host, Liv. How are you doing, Liv?
I'm great, CJ. How are you? I missed you.
I miss you too. We didn't do a show last week.
But you had
Holidays. I
these
was
things going on. Your daughter's birthday
yeah,
and the
my
holidays.
right. My daughter's birthday is Christmas Eve, so my wife had me doing a bunch of urgent tasks, let's just
Of
call them
course.
that. So yeah, I wasn't able to do go on last Wednesday, but we're back for this final Wednesday. I guess it kind of sets up this Wednesday pretty good as the final Wednesday of the year, right? Is it? Yeah, this is the final Wednesday of
Oh
the
my
year,
god.
so kind of sets up this show pretty well. So let's well, before we jump into what we're going to be talking about today, just a couple of housekeeping things. As always, the algorithm is not helping us. Make sure you like this video if you do like it. And also share this video, share it on any platform, share it on Facebook in particular, share it wherever you can. Also subscribe, tell a friend about the show. Watch one of our shows with a conservative. Watch one of our shows with a liberal. So all of that. If you want to support us financially, if you are able to, um, there's Patreon, so you can look us up on Patreon. We finally got that updated with the new name. And then there's also, you can always support us individually. Let me put there's Liv's name right there if you want to support Liv individually, and then there's me, which is my cash app is Jay the Populist. That's my cash app, and then the Venmo is Jay the Director. So JayThe. One is the director and one is populist. So that is mine. All right, so then let's get into some of the topics of wrote a couple of things down. We're going to cover Joe Biden is now polling less than Kamala Harris. The new CDC guidelines and the reaction some people have to those new CDC guidelines. We'll talk about young voters, and there was a recent article about young voters. And then we'll talk about some new shows we're going to be doing on RBN in 2022. We'll also be talking about a little bit of change that Straight Out of Politics will be having in 2022. And then we'll, of course, talk about, cover some, get to some mutual aid, talk about my mutual aid organization, the launch of that, and all of that stuff. So that is to kind of lay out what we're going to be doing today. So let's see what I want to start with here, Liv. Let's see. How do you feel Twitter's going today? Is it feel normal? Does it feel
You tell me, CJ. I'm on a farm right now, busy doing farm life stuff. Like
okay?
I just
Well,
spent
tell us about
yesterday.
that. While I'm getting these stories, tell us about where you're at. Let's start here. Let's start with the update of where where you're residing with your babies. Let us know. Give us an update.
Sure. So yes, everyone, I've missed y'all. I've missed y'all so much. Um, I am now happy to report on a farm through WOOF, WWOOF, Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. We're staying in a tiny house on more of a, not it's not really a big farm. It's more of a homestead in Pennsylvania, right over the border in Maryland, over from Maryland. So I am still very excited to be able to continue my mutual aid work that I was doing in Baltimore City, but also do more locally now in Gettysburg and Hagerstown, Maryland. Um, I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited to announce I am officially collabing with Rome to expand Tour for the Poor, to bring it to the East Coast. So I'm very excited about that. I just had a couple conversations with him today about it. Very exciting. And yeah, I'm trying to raise money right now to, it's been a while, but I'm trying to get back into doing mutual aid kits, which are, like gallon size Ziploc bags. I do two of
Mhm.
them, with socks, baby, and disinfecting wipes, band-aids, neosporins, What else? Deodorants. I think I said that. Travel size shampoo, conditioner, body wash, body lotion, protein shakes, protein bars, etc. And those again, I'm trying to start raising money for, and you can donate to my Venmo or my Cash App, or I also tweeted I have a GoFundMe that I started to get back into mutual aid work. And then also because, like I said, we have secured temporary housing, which is great. But we still need to work on a permanent housing solution for my 3 fur babies and I. And we're hoping that will be with schoolie. So I can continue doing this work, working on farms and also doing our mutual aid work. So we'll be doing a fundraiser for that, kind of like what we just did for Compton Jay's. The 1,000 for families in Watts. We're gonna hopefully do a fundraiser like that really soon and try and get a bus and secure a permanent home, which would be great.
Yes, all of that update sounds great. Good to hear you and your fur babies have found a temporary secure spot or place. That is very, very good to hear. And yes, the fundraiser will be planning hopefully in January. I don't see why it couldn't happen in January, but very soon. But let's I know I announced a couple of stories already, but since this one was just sent to me, it's kind of a funny story. It's not really, breaking news or anything. It's just kind of a funny story. And let me just bring up the tweet that somebody sent me here. Again, this is not going to be anything too long. I remember the same person. Just a funny tweet somebody sent me here. The same person who disrespected and booted Compton, I guess I'm going to say my name, Compton Jay and Afeni for speaking facts is begging you to listen to racist Vosh. Can't make this shit up. Wow. Thought that was interesting. Now I don't, I just first heard Vosh's name. I'm sorry, not his name, but I first heard his voice and saw a video of him 2 days ago. So I'm very new to Vosh. I'm not in particular. I mean, what I've heard from him, I don't particularly understand why people even listen to him based off the things that I've heard. It's just weird to me. Yeah,
Right?
this is just weird to me. But so yeah, and then so that was sent to me. And then it's weird, Liv, but people send stuff to me all the time. And then this was sent to me, which is the actual video. Now, I haven't seen this yet, so I'm curious to see what it sounds like. This is my first time hearing it, so let's hear what this is.
I'm not going to say that you don't have a right to be upset. You have every right to be upset. And then, but if
we are not the enemy.
Let me deal with it.
Well, you don't.
Oh, this is not. I thought this was a video of her actually saying the stuff. That wasn't.
What?
I thought somebody attached a video of Vosh, her saying it on the air. So that's what I thought I was playing. Like I said, I didn't look at it, so that's not what that was. But anyway, like I said, I thought it was a funny story. I wanted to cover it very quickly, squeeze it in. But anyway, let's get to the topics that were planned now.
What do you got for us, DJ?
The first one being, I do want to talk about Joe Biden's polling numbers first, because it's kind of I don't want to start off with the most serious story. I think the CDC story is a more serious story. So let's start off with this one, and that's Joe Biden's approval numbers. Now we've talked about, or maybe you and I haven't specifically talked about, but I've talked about Kamala Harris's approval numbers being some of the worst of all vice VPs. Yeah, like at 28% or something like that. And Joe Biden was low also, but at least he wasn't at 28%. Well, that's that's over because
Never
Joe
say
Biden
never.
is now, that Joe Biden is now polling. Let me see where I have the article right here. Joe Biden is now polling at below Kamala Harris. And I'm going to bring up a couple of articles. This is the first one right here. Biden approval rating below Kamala Harris per latest Gallup poll. So, President Joe Biden's approval rating is below that of his vice president, Kamala Harris, according to a recent poll released by Gallup. And there's the link for those who want receipts on that. The surprising polling results come from a poll in which just over 800 randomly sampled adults were interviewed by telephone between December 1st and the 16th. The purpose of the poll was to assert approval and disapproval for U.S. leaders. Supreme Court Justice John Roberts earned the highest approval rating, while Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell were both the bottom of the list, as they should be. You can see a table of the polling results from Gallup below. So, and it just kind of just goes over here, U.S. leader approval rating 2021. Do you agree or disapprove of the way each of the following handling their job? So, you could see the Supreme Court justice 60%. I mean, I guess Jerome Powell is 53%. Dr. Fauci 52%. Anthony Blinken 49%. The AG, and so on and so on. But you can see Kamala Harris here 44%. So she's underwater by what, 10%. But Joe Biden's below that. It's by 1%, but um he's at 43%. Now, yeah, this is a funny little story, but I think what it illustrates, Liv, is that the Democrats are awful, and I'm not sure, like, I don't think people who have been in office for decades, literally decades, can literally be this awful unless they're intentionally being awful. So I feel like they're intentionally being awful as to explain, I guess, or maybe to induce the 2022 midterm massacre that's coming.
Yep.
So that they can really work and have a divided government, and they can go back to their blame game of blame the other side for
Yeah.
no legislation coming through. Because
It's
right
the rapture
now,
effect. It's
right, exactly. So
Yep.
I'm gonna pass it to you right now, because right now, Joe Manchin is the whipping boy.
rotating
Everybody wants to
villain.
target him, but that
Yeah.
can't last that long. So, what do you think about Joe Biden's low approval? It doesn't just mean disapproval, this poll, but his low approval rating with everybody. What do you think of hit their prospects of in the midterms? What are your thoughts on all of this?
Lower than Kamala Harris, man. That's pretty sad. But not surprising. Yo, I'm not surprised. It's Joe
Right.
Biden. Like, I was literally just having this conversation with the long-term guest in the main house. Like, the architect of the system, especially the war on drugs, is our
Right.
president. And we are surprised with how bad things are. When we had the voting history of how many decades before to tell us what this guy was, who he is, what he believes in, and how he's going to vote. The fact that push Joe Biden left was everything. This is why I have no respect for Bernie, man. Like, yes, Bernie did wake me up. I
Right.
was awoken by Bernie, but Bernie is a fucking sellout. He sold out
Right.
the movement to Joe Biden to try and push him left, and look where we fucking are. That movement, that historical movement that we were seeing last summer with people coming out literally into the streets saying Black Lives Matter, defund the police. And what did they fucking do? they got Joe Biden elected because they said, if you're black, you need to vote for us. Otherwise,
Right.
Joe Biden said that. Joe Biden said, you're not black if you don't vote for me. Joe Biden said that. And still tried to bank on the black vote. And then when he got it, gave more money to the police, militarized the police, gave money to the Capitol Police, who neglected help, who refused help. And that is why January 6th happened, because they decided they did not want the help after multiple warnings. So I don't know why we're so surprised that Joe Biden sucks, because that's why I didn't vote for him in the first place, because he sucks. And we have the voting record to prove that.
Right.
So
Right. Like what he's doing now is right in line with his history.
Yeah.
Like what is there to be surprised? So you and I, in our comrades, we're not surprised at all. What I'm surprised about is the people who voted for him, who are now kind of having buyer's remorse. I'm surprised that they're surprised that Joe Biden is this awful. And to hear how they cover, I wish I'd have had some videos prepped. Maybe I'll look for some videos here. To hear how they cover his polling, it's so absurd how they cover his polling. They're giving excuses. They kind of say, yeah, it's this. And here's the reasons why. Like, how are you telling us the reasons why his polling numbers? Like, they're telling us basically it's the unvaccinated, or they're saying, a couple of other, usual targets that they're giving of why his approval rating is low, besides the fact that he's just terrible. This is the one I really love, is that Americans really just don't know all the good stuff that Joe Biden has done. That's why they're giving him a bad rating. Like, we just don't know what he's done, and that's why we're giving him a bad rating. What were you saying? Go ahead.
I would love to hear from those people one good thing Joe Biden has done.
Exactly. I think I'm gonna try to find that video. There is a video. I think it's of Van Jones, maybe. This was a while ago, but there's a lot more recent ones, not of Van Jones, but of other people. But of Van Jones, let me see, Joe Biden polling. I'm just gonna look it up and see if I can find a video. Now, if I play this video,
a couple comments.
The honeymoon is over. Yes. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Comments. Biden's admin is awful, but he's just being carted out like Weekend at Bernie's. Yes. I'm gonna put that comment up once I put this up here. Well,
okay, I found it.
Literally just was like the other day. He was like, "No federal solution to COVID. Peace. I'm going to the beach."
Like, wouldn't that be something you have said to the nation, like January 21st when you were sworn in?
Hey, I'm president.
All this time we thought you were working on a federal solution.
What? And if the president of the United States says there is no federal solution, who is supposed to come up with the federal solution then?
But this is an example that we are left to our own devices, American people. But he just said it out loud. He said, hey, there's no federal solution. That's literally your job. That's literally, can you think, besides protecting the people on your soil, what other job is there of a government but the health of the people within their borders? Like, it's so absurd that, I mean, this is why to me it's so absurd that we don't have healthcare coverage. Like, that is, to me, is just ridiculous. Like, healthcare coverage,
pandemic.
Right? Healthcare coverage should come even before an education. I'm talking about when you're building the nation and you're going, what should we do for the people? I would think healthcare coverage, which is something everybody needs the entirety of their lives, is something they would come up with before, let's say, education. That you would, people are only in school from kindergarten to 12th grade, but you get the point that I'm making. It's like, I don't get that. There goes Rome. I did not see you, sir.
What's going on, man? I couldn't miss this one. I'm like, hold on. I might be a little late, but
Hey, no worries. And Margot might be joining us too. By the way, Margot Lee might be joining us too. But let me jump to the topic since you just joined, because Liv did mention that she's going to be working with you for Tour of the Poor, like a satellite sort of. I don't know what the title would be, but she's going to be working with you. You want to kind of, is it a secret, or can you kind of tell us about what's going on?
Ain't nothing secretive with the communism. You know, that's what we do.
The cult.
As far as you know, her, like, I remember a couple months ago, I said that I was actually looking for, you know, new people and stuff like that. And she just one of the first ones who actually made the cut, because she was actually out here doing work, and she did the work for me in the past and whatnot. So, you know, yeah, I'm expanding, and, you know, just getting more people, different cities. That way we can really, you know, build a movement throughout throughout this country without it being through neoliberals like DSA or Sunrise Movement, bullshit like that can easily get co-opted. Like, we're here to stay, and we about to make some noise. So, welcome, Liv. Thank you for all your help.
Thank you, Rob. Oh my God, this is crazy. Literally, I was thinking this morning, I was like, I can't believe I was inspired by Rome, and I'm like literally just like talking on the phone with him. Like, I talked to him like twice ago, and I was just like, a few months ago, I was like dreaming of this. This is crazy.
Right.
Now
no, I remember like when you first started co-hosting on here, the way you would talk about at the time FHL members, be like, yeah, this and that, be like. And then now to see how, you know, you go on JB show anytime, you go on, you know, look out with Rome all the time. So it's a beautiful thing, Rome, to see this community being built. And it's not just Liv, you know, with, you know, many comrades that we interact with all the time. I can think of like Comrade Misty is another one we interact with all the time. Black in the Empire, otherwise known as Daryl, is another one I interact with in the DMs. Aaron Fights is what he's known as on Twitter. He might be in the comments sometime today also. So Quaker Socialist. So it's just a lot of different people that we are building this community with, and I'm love to see this Tour for the Poor work. And I'm working on my Mutual Aid Forever. I'm doing that. I'm launching that. So I can say that now. So this was going to be something later, but launching Mutual Aid Forever officially February 1st. Because I want to get everything built up. I want to begin raising money. And the first thing I want to start doing is helping people stay in their houses. Yeah. So there's, you know, a bunch of projects I lived in particular in Long Beach. There's a project called Carmelitos. And then, of course, the Nickerson Garden projects in LA and Jordan Down. You know, people, hey, what's going on with your rent situation? What's going on with your bills, your lights? You know, do you have internet connection? I want to raise $5,000 to just have a pool where we can just go and help different people, you know, getting eviction notices, stay in their place. So that's the first mission of Mutual Aid Forever. So that's going to be getting started, getting the graphics going and everything. So February 1st, look for that. Follow us on Twitter. It's already up. It's Mutual Aid 4, the number 4, and then ever, because, you know, character limit. So Mutual Aid Forever. Follow us. Literally just one character was missing, so I had to change it just for that. Just for that one more character, I would have been good. So yeah, follow us on Twitter. Follow. Not a lot of people do. A lot of people know you have a Twitter account, Rome, for Tours for the Poor. I just want to make sure we shout that out.
I don't have control over that anymore, man. That was
you don't. That was one of the things you told me you lost.
Yeah.
Okay, so just go directly to Rome. Understand, you know, if they're still doing good work, I don't want to, you know, say anything about that, but if anything,
no, I own the name and whatnot, but it was just the people that we was working with before actually have, you know,
like the past, like the access stuff. I get what you're saying. So you just don't have access. So just know that particular thing is not directly, Rome is not running it. If anything is posted there. So Liv, what are some of the places you're going to be going to working with Rome? Have you talked about that? Like what some of the areas? Did you mention New York? I don't know why New York is in my head. Did you say New York?
Going to New York. You're there in like 2 weeks, right?
He's going to New York. Yeah, the big thing for New York. you're going to be helping where you are now in Pennsylvania. You're in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be trying to do more work. Now locally, because I'm right over the border in Pennsylvania, I'm gonna be trying to work in Gettysburg, and then right over the border in Hagerstown, where I have some Green Party comrades that I'm hoping to tap into right then about where are some good spots to do some work, and then also continuing and growing the work that I was doing and been doing in Baltimore City, because I'm about an hour and a half away now, so getting people that are in Baltimore who could be doing that work too would be great to help alleviate some of the stress of all of it. But yeah, it's been working. It's been coming along really well. I mean, we're getting back into it right now. I'm trying to do a mutual aid supply run to get more stuff for kits to hand out, and then I'll go out and hit the streets.
Yep, and that's
cool.
one of the parts of actually. I was talking on the JB show about this building strongholds in certain communities, you know, like Detroit, PA, New York, Florida, California, cities throughout California, Texas, and whatnot. So, you know, of course, there's going to be tour for the poor. We're going to have handfuls of people going out there helping their community locally, but it's still a tour because, you know, and of course, I'm still going to be out going to New York. I'll probably join some of these people in their cities once if I have the time, if I'm not in a different city or whatnot. But Tour for the Poor is going to expand. We're going to start getting strongholds on certain communities, make it to where people have a place to go for help. If not, we know where to go.
That's important
and whatnot. And we can all that ties into the thrift store. Like if this goes well, you know, the thrift store I'm building in Detroit, I'm going to build one in PA, California, Florida, et cetera, et cetera.
Tell my audience about that, because I know about it, and you talked about it on other shows, but they may not have heard it. What is your thrift store concept, idea, or how you describe it?
Well, right now it's technically a tiny home. The way I'm going to build it is going to be a tiny home, so I can avoid paying Uncle Sam some money that he don't deserve. So
there goes Margot. How you doing, Margot? Thank you for
joining us. Hey, you guys.
Hi.
Welcome. And okay, so Rome, it's a tiny home. Continue, sir.
Yeah. It's basically going to be built as a tiny home. That way I can avoid Uncle Sam. Everything that I get donated to, nothing will be sold over $10. We're going to make sure that, you know, everybody who works there is making over $25 an hour. So that means I'm going to make nothing. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be making less than the employees, but that's what's going to keep people coming. And it's going to keep money into the Black community instead of us. Like in Detroit, if anybody from Michigan, you know, it's hard for us to go across city lines. And we still have to go across city lines to go get cheap clothing and even work. You know, and this will shake up a lot of things. It will, not only will it give, poor people the chance to actually afford these clothes, but it's gonna really shake up the minimum wage in my neighborhood. Because if I fuck around and get enough donations to actually run a big store, or if it's too much or whatnot, I can always just pay the people, and then you have people coming from the gas stations, from the liquor stores. You have people coming from the dry cleaners, whatever, just to work for me because I'm offering $25 an hour. And when they tell their boss, like, hold on, I can go work for a thrift store for $25 an hour. Like, where? You show me where niggas paying $25 an hour, right here in the middle of the hood. Right here in the middle of the hood, and we're going to keep that money where it belongs, in the hood and out of these billionaires' hands. We're going to war with Goodwill. We're going to war with Salvation Army. I know a lot of people give to them people, but those times are over. We need to keep the money in poor people's hands. Stop giving these people money that they're going to use to buy back stocks, to buy yachts, and all kind of shit that don't happen for the people. Like, we know as of right now, if you used to go to Walmart, they have somebody out there on the fucking code ringing that bell for donations for a billionaire company. That's something we don't do. We won't do is exploit people, especially they're out there for like $2 an hour or some bullshit like that. So it's a lot of it's gonna take a lot of work, but what the fuck isn't? You know what I'm saying? And if anybody's gonna get it done, we're gonna get it done. We're gonna get it done through our ways, the way it can't be co-opted where evil motherfuckers can't come in here and buy stocks and try to control the company and shit like that. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're watching this show and if you got some evil thoughts, if you CIA, whatever, you think you're gonna come to me and think you can buy me or think you can do anything, you're gonna fall where you stand. And that's all I'm gonna say. Don't come to me thinking I'm gonna sell out for anything.
Yes, and what you're describing, I'm reading some of the comments. People are loving the idea, of this. But what to me, what you're describing is building a community outside of the government.
Yeah.
Because if the government is not providing, this is a philosophical question. If the government is not providing for us, then why do we keep giving them our money? If they're not providing for us, like, we can govern ourselves and circulate our money amongst ourselves, buy from each other.
Yep.
Have
stop
local
crime. It's not going to stop crime. Nothing is going to stop crime. You can only control it. And this is the best way to control crime, is putting money in people's hands, giving them opportunities. Especially the younger people who coming up, is young people today that stand in front of our liquor stores and gas stations that's 12 years old, 13 years old, begging for change. Like,
it's real out here, Rome. And you said it earlier in your description. I was going to say this too, but with so many things to jump on, you was saying how you have to leave Michigan to even get cheap clothes. You have to leave Michigan to get work.
Yeah.
So think about the people who live there. This is how crime begins. You think somebody who's hungry is going to sit around and say, there's no jobs here, so, oh, well, no. They're going to figure out a way to make money. This is when the lines of legal and illegalities is irrelevant to survival. You get what I'm saying? Like, your line that you created, this arbitrary line you created that you call a law, is irrelevant, or becomes irrelevant when it becomes my survival. And that's what makes or produces or creates the conditions for crime. It creates the conditions for crime. And it's like, and it's no understanding of that. And just putting police there is like putting the top on the boiling lid. The water is still boiling.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? The water is still boiling. You're just putting a lid on it. Doesn't change what's under the lid. So let's bring in Margot, only because you just dropped in. I know you're just hearing what we're jumping around. There's a bunch of topics we initially started out with, and then Rome jumped in, and we just kind of talked about his tour for the poor. Liv is going to be doing some work for the tour for the poor with him, and then we went into his thrift store idea that we're talking about, and then you heard everything from there. But
well, the thrift store idea is awesome. Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, we can hear you.
Okay. So this is like a pop-up event. Like, I'm in my living room. I'm not where the good internet is. Sorry. Took 20 minutes to put my face on just so I could show up. Okay, so if tech's okay, let's go. I think, Rome, your idea of the portable thrift shop is amazing. And it's because we're thinking outside the box now. So up until this point, it feels like we've been thinking within the box. How do we help, what organizations do we donate to? And we donate to people like the Salvation Army, who in their own right does some good work. And so does, Goodwill Industries, who I used to work pretty closely with. But at the same time, here we're handing our money, which is basically our control. It's the one power we have. And we're handing it off to other organizations and hoping that they end up creating something that helps us. And so far, they're not hitting the mark. They do great work in a lot of ways, but they're not hitting the mark. And so I really like, the idea of pulling our money out of those agencies and giving it to Rome and Liv doing the tour for the poor and really bringing it to the people. I mean, I don't know that much about the homeless in Maine necessarily. I know it gets very cold and they're starting to clear people out from under a bridge in Bangor. And I'm thinking, I mean, it's -15 in the morning when I wake up. Like, what are these people doing? What do they got to commit a crime to get, 3 squares and a pillow
Right.
and some
Right.
and some heat, So I think it's
That's
great. You're filled with great ideas, Rome.
and that's a great point. Not a lot of people even. That's something that's never talked about. That there's a certain segment of people who commit crimes because they're homeless.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
they're able to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
a roof over their head, and people don't understand. Like that's do you understand the sad state of affairs where you have to go commit a crime in order to get a roof over your head? Your government would rather have you as slaves, because that's what you are when you're a criminal in prison.
Yeah.
Have you as slaves than to put you in a housing situation.
Yes.
Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, this is not a government. This is a business making decisions, because a government is about the prosperity of its people, the health of its people, regardless of costs. So if a government is saying we can't afford to keep our people healthy, a government should never say that. A government should say we want to cover our people, everybody's health. How do we pay for it? That's what you do. Anybody want to chime in on that before I get back to
on the
the
goddamn Pentagon. That's how
main
you do
story?
it.
Right?
Main
Right?
story.
We always have money for the fucking Pentagon and the cops.
Yeah. Yeah, he
There's
just
there's
signed what
reason-
was it? Like 770 some odd $billion. He just signed the defense bill, I think it was. I'll bring it up in a second. But yeah, he just signed that. And I mean, I was just talking about his polling numbers. I'll bring that article back up on the screen. But then they're wondering why his polling is so like terrible. Like, is it really a question, Margot, to you? Is it really a question on why his approval rating is so low?
It's not a question to me. I mean, probably the most recent thing that my husband and I have said to each other about Biden was that at this point in like Trump's first, year, as we were coming up on the first year, or like when he first got in office, we were like, oh my God, how are we going to make it for 4 years? And then it kind of was like, poof, it's over. And it was like, holy, okay, we made it. And this is like every day with Joe Biden in office is a nightmare. It's a lifetime of nightmares. Why is it that it's so much harder now than when Trump was in office? Trump was supposed to be the bad guy. Yeah, I mean, right? He was the reason why we were supposed to vote for Joe Biden, Jim Crow Joe, against all of our best interests. And it's harder now. It's worse. There are Democrats that I know now, lifelong Democrats, who are not interested in voting Democrat ever again. And that's with 1 year with Joe Biden in office.
That's crazy you say that, because there is a video, I might get to it, where I think it was either Rome. No, I think it was Kamali who went down and talked to the nurses down in Massachusetts who were still striking. And Bill was like, I remember his name. He was like, I'm a Democrat. And he was like, I told the local Democrats, I'm not voting Democrat. I'm voting socialist. I'm voting Green Party. I'm done. He was like, I'm done. And it's like, this is what gives me hope. Liv, I'll bring you in here. This is what gives me hope to hear that, because, and this is the reason why I primarily go after Democrats, is because they're the ones that's seen as the good guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in order to break this duopoly, we have to dispel the myth that there's a good guy in this duopoly. And that's the reason why attacking the Democrats from the left is so very, very important. But again, what are your thoughts on what maybe what Margot said, or anything else you wanted to touch on before I get back to this article? There is a section I do want to read of this article, but Liv, your thoughts on any of that?
I just think things are honestly not even just like I knew things would be bad under Biden, but I think things are not even like arguably, but like measurably much worse under Biden than under Trump. We have the humanitarian crisis at the border exploding, and still
true.
still have kids in cages, and that number is just rising. And but the Democrats are quiet about that, about kids in cages that they have named, rebranded as migrant overflow facilities, or whatever they
Facilities,
want to call them now. And everything has just gotten measurably worse under
right.
Biden. And people still want to, still say like, well, I didn't vote for Trump, so it had to be the good guy. Like what else was I supposed to do? It was the lesser of two evils.
But they're finding out that it's not a lesser of
right.
two evil, because Nick was just saying this on our show, and he had like a little list, a laundry list of things. He was like, these are all measurable things that Trump or Biden is worse than Trump.
Yes.
And it's like, these are just facts. He's like, I'm not saying I like Trump or anything like that. I'm just showing you these are facts that he is worse. He has deported more people, more deaths under COVID, more deaths with a vaccination. That is key to that part. With a vaccination, and he has governed over more deaths. But let me read this part before I go to you, Rome. Of this article here this is PBS NewsHour's. Biden's approval dips to new low as independents sour on his leadership. As Joe Biden heads into the end of the year, he's facing a sour reality. The number of Americans who approve of his performance has hit a new low. Just 41% of Americans approve of the job he has been doing as president, according to a new PBS NPR Marist poll. 41%. And then there's support among independents alone dropped 8 points in a week. 8 points in a week.
I don't even think Trump did that.
No. And then this last part, overall, more than a half, 55% of Americans disapprove of Biden's performance, including 44% who strongly disapprove. His disapproval rating has jumped 20 points since he took office. 20 points. So this guy, I mean, I don't see what these numbers and their inability to govern or inability or want to do anything for the people. I see him being a one-term president. I see them getting massacred in 2022, and I see him being either a one-term president because the Democrats replace him as the nominee, or some health reason he can't run again, or because he loses to Trump or whoever the Republican nominee is. But what are your thoughts, Rome, on any part of this, or what do you have to say about any of this?
I'm just gonna say, nah, boo boo, stick your head in doo doo, because I told these motherfuckers before, and they tried to crucify your boy. You know what I'm saying? They really went after me. I had blue checks coming after me when I said that we would be better off under Trump, because as long as you motherfuckers will be paying attention somewhat, you know what I'm saying? Like you're not gonna actually do anything about it, but at least you will retweet about it or be that reply guy. You don't say anything when this type of shit happens. When we calling out your leader for bombing Syria or auctioning off 18 million acres of the ocean to oil tycoons, or just passing 48 fracking bills on his first day.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Nah, boo boo, stick your head in doo doo. That's what the fuck you get. I told you this is gonna happen. Pay the fucking attention. Stop being so fucking stubborn, thinking that just because I'm younger than you that you can't learn from me. I have lived this life. I have lived through Joe Biden's bills. And you see, that's the cultural divide in the shit for real. It's the cultural divide in the shit for real. These people don't actually pay attention to us because they never lived that life. They haven't lived through people having to go through the 3 strikes or stop and frisk or whatever the fuck it is that these people done put us through. And when we tell these people, look, my life matter, they're like, oh, that was so long ago. That was so long ago. How long ago was that? That was just yesterday I got stopped and frisk, bro. That was just a couple weeks ago. They just beat the fuck out of this boy. Last year they killed Breonna Taylor, George Floyd. When was it so long ago? These laws are still into play today. This has nothing to do with Trump. All Trump was doing was upholding Biden and Obama bills and some of Clinton bills. But y'all don't get too far. Y'all don't go too far past that shit. Y'all don't look in it. Y'all just look at it. And that's the fucking problem. You're not paying attention. That's why your dumb ass voted for Joe Biden. And you getting people killed. You getting people killed because you a fucking idiot. Because you don't want to fucking listen. Listen. And next time shit like this won't happen. So all you motherfuckers want to talk shit about us, talk about when you gonna overthrow the government. Bitch, when you gonna fucking vote your way out of fascism? Tell me that. Nigga. That's what the fuck I gotta say.
They can't tell you that because the duopoly is fascist. So if you're voting in the duopoly, is fascist. So this is this is what I have to say about Joe Biden. There's people who are let me say it this way. I'm not as harsh as some of you on people. I think there's a certain segment of people who are brainwashed and who really believe Joe Biden is doing stuff. Like there's people who believe that, and it is so bizarre to me. But think about this. If you have a relative that's 55, 60 years old, they don't deal with no internet. So this person is only getting their news from the TV. Tell me which option they can go to watch something that's not corporately ran. They don't have any option. So it's like they're ignorant to what is even happening. And that's I don't think it's a lot of people, but I do think an older population, maybe boomers. I know we don't like to give them sympathy, but maybe an older population who don't have access to news, maybe they're harder to reach. But young people, like, there's no reason. Leftists, people who call themselves progressives, there's no reason. You don't tell me a person's track record of 30 years and then you're trying to convince me he's going to be FDR to this now. Like, that is so absurd. You're telling me the guy who says you're not black if you don't vote for him, the guy, who calls out people in his own like town halls and says, "Hey, give me the mic, don't vote for me," told an immigrant that. Like, a person.
I have no empathy for the young.
Exactly. The guy who says this about young people, like, now he's gonna be caring about climate change, Sunrise Movement, who backed them and pushed them. Like, come on, like you're believing in Santa. Like, stop. Like, you're believing in stuff that is clearly not the truth. Clearly not the truth, squad. When they said, "Oh, Joe Manchin, yeah, he's gonna, take in consideration." And how long did it take? How long did it take, Margot? What, 2 days? Joe Manchin had said, "I can't do this no more."
He was never going to do that.
Absurd. He was never going to do it. But go ahead, Margot. What are your thoughts?
So most of the people that I know around here come from sort of two groups. I don't want to say parties. So there are my farmer friends who are over 70, boomers, Democrats. They were all Bernies in 2016. And then the other group of people I talk to a lot of the time are right wingers, because of where I'm deep in the heart of Maine. And that's sort of the breakdown. And like my boomer neighbor, who, I would be homeless if it weren't for her. So to take everything I say about my shitlib boomer neighbor with a grain of salt, because without her, we'd be homeless because we haven't paid our mortgage in months. At the beginning of the pandemic, she told us not to worry and all of this stuff. But like, she only has access to MSNBC because of whatever cable or DirecTV, or she has a different service than I do. She's half a mile down the road. It's what it's like to live out here. And so that's the only access she has. She doesn't even get CNN, and she doesn't get Fox News. So she only can sort of see Rachel Maddow and stuff. But the upside is that recently she said to my husband that capitalism isn't working.
Oh, that's a win. That's a win.
And she often has been afraid to talk to me about politics because I can be a real a-hole. But
Yeah, I know.
like we have to have an agreement.
you're Twitter. You mean you're like Twitter in real life. You're Twitter in real life.
I am exactly in real life exactly who I am on Twitter, except that I curse a lot more because I have more characters to use. Curse like a sailor. So, but I mean, and then like, so we have sort of an agreement that so she knows that even if I get angry or we disagree, that I'm not going to like shut her out of my life and all this stuff, which is what happened a lot on Facebook originally. And so recently, I said I work in the middle school. We had 40 cases of COVID in the middle school right before Thanksgiving.
Wow.
The kids don't wear their masks properly at this point. I mean, I just want to give it up. I work in the school. 50% of my children are vaccinated. The other one is not. And it's just like, I just feel like giving it all up. And I said that to her, and she, rather than arguing with me about, the jab or the not jab or whatever, was just like, even she's kind of like, and it's when the shit libs start to realize, that they got
Yes.
then the Democrats are really in big, big trouble. Because we argued all, and what I Dem exited in 2004. I only came back to caucus for Bernie because Maine makes you do that.
Yeah, because it's
and
Bernie,
that's the only reason, right? The only reason. So I've been out of the Democratic Party since 2004. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's how many years is that? She's finally coming around. my shitlib boomer neighbor, who I love.
No, but this is funny you say that, because I said this. Maybe I can find the tweet, but I said this is that it's a couple of things I said, but leftists need to understand any revolution is not going to be left. It's going to be human. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be people side by side with us. That's not necessarily leftist. That's what the revolution needs to be in order for it to be successful. And what I said was, we're going to know the revolution is getting close when liberals and Trump supporters start saying the same things we're saying, and they're looking at us and we're going, yeah, we've been saying this, and they're going, yeah, capitalism is not. When that starts happening, that's when you know that wall is going to be coming down. And what we like with Rome, I'm directing this to you, Rome, we have to pounce on that. We have to pounce on people questioning it, because that curiosity is what we need to feel. We need to come in and when I say we, I mean people who are doing content. So it's not just Rome, it's the two of you who are here. We need to feel that with information, with facts, and talk. So like what you do, Rome, you do, and this is what I want to do in my mutual aid. I want to do mutual aid, but my mutual aid is coming with political education. It's not coming with my mutual aid. You want that free food? You want this, that? This is coming with political education. You understand? Let me break this down. What's really happening in this red-blue thing? You get what I'm saying? So yeah. So Rome, what are your thoughts on any part of that? All of that? What Margot said? What Liv said? Any of this?
I always feel like educate whoever would even give you. A minimum window of opportunity to do it. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's minimized, take it, jump through it if you can. Mm-hmm. But my beef is really with the people who politically identify themselves as something, as far as even communists or socialists. You know what I'm saying? Taking up for this electoral process.
Yeah, that's so weird.
So that's where my beef really lies. People who has the privilege to actually come out here and listen to Black voices and Black lives, and not the ones that MSNBC and CNN give you. Some real shit. But the thing is,
we lost Liv. She'll be back. We lost Liv, but she'll be back.
The thing is, you can't. You don't like what we saying and how we saying it, because it don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't make you feel good when we saying, like, you know what I'm saying? All these voters got my neighborhood fucked up. They like, what do we do? We're just trying to do our best. No, the best thing you would do is not come in our spaces and try to shut us down and tell us that we are wrong about anything. Like, that's one of my main reasons why I keep telling these people, like, I don't debate. You know what I'm saying? My life isn't up for debate. This shit ain't up for debate. Nothing is up for debate.
That is true.
This
That's a
we
great
talking
point.
communism. Like, ain't no debate.
Right.
This is the best system that we
Right.
have as human, that we put together as humans. You know what I'm saying? But somehow
No, I feel you on that. I feel you on that, on the whole debate thing. I have sort of, I mean, at least on Twitter. Thank you for coming back, Liv. At least on Twitter, I have that same philosophy. Just there's several reasons on Twitter. It's not enough characters to really debate, to really get into like real conversations. Two, I don't really know who's behind this profile. It could be somebody from the alphabet crews, CIA,
pick your
FBI,
brain, see how
local,
much you know.
whatever. Yeah,
Trying to see how
so
much you know and shit.
so
Nah,
yeah,
nigga,
it
you
could be
don't know all that,
that.
man.
So it's a lot of reasons I don't do that necessarily online. And another thing is, debate means it's up for like to be changed,
Yeah.
and it doesn't. And like just to your point, Rome, like this is not up for debate. It's these things need to happen. We need healthcare. We need these things. So either you jump on board with us in this fight, or
We
like
know
Eddie
what the
Murphy
fuck to
said,
do,
have a
bro.
Coke and a
We
smile
know
and
what
have
the
a
fuck to
seat.
do. We know what the
Yes.
fuck to do, bro. We pay the people to tell us what we know. They pay people to tell them what to know, and how much to feed us, how much to give us, how much the minimum wage should be. We have the shit. Even if they don't have the shit written down, we know what it takes to fucking to be a human. God damn, y'all. Is it that hard to take care of somebody? Like, what the fuck, man? Oh no, that ain't no. But yeah.
It's not that hard, Rome. Sorry, I was muted. It's not that hard, Rome. But the philosophical question that I think you're speaking to is that if it's not that hard, why isn't our government doing it? Because this is really not that hard. Like, it's our money, we're handing to you. Somehow you're finding a way to give 700+ billion to the military, but we have unhoused people. So it's not hard. The money's there. The question is, why aren't they spending our money on us?
They don't want to.
Right.
And
it's not people that control this country. Why do you think they fought so hard to say corporations is people too?
Exactly.
Because corporations control this motherfucker. I mean, like, look what's the name of the show about the CDC and what's going on with the airlines. Like, come on, man. We see this shit happen all the time with Big Pharma and whatever company you want. How many times we bailed out these banks? How many times we bailed out the airlines? How many times we bailed out all these motherfuckers? How many times have they bailed out you guys? How many? Like, come on, compare it. Compare all the bailouts from even. We ain't got to go back to the fucking 80s, 2000s and up. How many bailouts compared to corporations did the people get?
I know I didn't hit no bailout. We didn't get any.
All right then.
We are at 0. We lost. I don't even need to know the other score. Like, we lost. We're at 0. And the thing is, anything, this is more philosophical comment. Anything that the people need is means tested. It's going to impact the deficit. We didn't elect people to go in and guard us from our own money. That's not what we elected to do. Go in there and stop us from getting our own money. Instead, funneling it to the military industrial complex. I do want to kind of shift, but I want to shift to a different story. But I do want to give anybody their final comments on any part of this that we're talking about. From Joe Biden to just in general, the revolution. Any comments before I kind of switch gears here?
Well, I really liked the way, Rome, that you had said, like, my life's not up for debate. And because it's very much like, when I talk about that, I'm talking about poverty. Like, my poverty status, my experience in poverty is not up for fucking debate. Excuse me. Like, you don't get to come at me. What I've noticed a lot is that the majority of people that I deal with, they don't understand what poverty is. They don't know that they're looking at it. I teach their children, and they don't know that I just got denied my food stamps, and now I really don't know what we're going to do. You know what I mean? Unless you tell them that. But it's like if they try to debate with me, debate is done. There's no, my life,
Right.
my experience is not up for debate. And the fact that this country is set up systemically to do that to me is also not up for debate.
I'm liking that as a mantra. A shirt. I'm seeing that on the shirt. It's not up for debate.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is
The
not
debate
up
is over.
for debate.
Nope.
Rome, you can
Who's
check
going
that.
through so
Check
much-
that
like,
on
yeah,
as
man. Like, I mean, like, come on,
merchandise.
man.
Yeah.
Like, what? How would they? You know, how would they come? How do they really think they can come at us and say that the three strikes bill wasn't as bad as we are seeing or living through? You know what I'm saying? How can
Right.
come to a motherfucker who's migrating because climate change and I say, oh, that's
Right.
fantasy. That's a lie made up by the liberal media. Like, nigga, my house is underwater. You know what I'm saying?
And
Like,
that to me is one of the more concerning things. I know I'm chuckling just because it's funny that how, at the ridiculousness, but that to me is one of the concerning things about all of what's happening. The pandemic is exposing the total collapse of capitalism, the total collapse of this empire. But the planet is dying, and nobody seems to be taking it. Nobody with the ability to change this trajectory is doing anything about it. I mean, we just had this, what was it, the CO26, is that the right name? The
COP
26.
26.
Yeah, where Abby Martin stands up and says, hey, I think it was COP 26, where she stands up and speaks to Pelosi and say, hey, 130 countries, the US pollutes more than 130 countries combined. The US military pollutes more than 100 30 countries combined, yet they're excluded from climate talks. The number one polluter on the planet is excluded from climate talks, but you're trying to tell me this is a serious thing? You're taking climate serious? And to me, that is the most concerning, because they need the planet too.
Yeah.
But it's like they don't care whatsoever. So Liv, I know, did you want to chime in there? Go ahead, Liv.
It's well, I mean, I always love having this debate because it's like, okay, do they even really care about the planet? Because they've been pretty invested in dabbling in space play and trying to figure out, like, who can get up into space and play there. So to me, they have an escape plan. They know our planet is doomed. But when I've talked about this before to other people, like, okay, well, like, are they really gonna like let humanity really go extinct? It's like, well, if they want to go have fun in space play, they need life support, and who's going to be running that? Not the big 1%. So how we end up into the Hunger Games to figure out who has the job for life support, and they're rallying off resources. I do not want that. That is horrifying to me. That is much scarier than a bullet from the government or whatever. Watching my loved ones die one by one to the climate crisis is way scarier. So it's just so frustrating when people also don't realize the urgency of the climate crisis, that we are living it right now. And it's not just like, oh, like future generations are going to feel the effects. We are feeling the effects right now. Like Rome said, like we are having climate refugees right now. We are having people who have been killed by climate disasters right now. And y'all just not on my urgency level. It's really frustrating.
It's very frustrating. So I'm gonna pose this question to everybody, but I'll start with Margot. It's like, do you feel people can be overwhelmed by this? Like those that don't are saying, "Oh, I'm not ready for a revolution." Is it overwhelming? Because this is a lot. The pandemic, people dying, vaccinations. Nobody's doing anything about climate change. Like workers are striking. We're not getting paid enough. Food insecurity. Like there's a lot of stuff that's going on. So it's more secure to be like, well, I'm just going to believe in this puppet show, this red and blue puppet show, because the truth alternative behind this curtain is a hellhole that we all got to fight. And I'd rather just sleep in my blissful puppet show. You get what I'm saying? Like the alternative is fighting hell. You get what I'm saying? Or, you know, fictional hell that's the alternative. So do you think people are like willingly choosing to kind of stay in the red blue game for that reason? What are your thoughts?
I think that at this point, yes. I think that, like with my neighbor, and like I loved the way you had said earlier about, you know, the pot is boiling and you're just kind of putting the top on it, and you know it's still boiling though. We're still here, and it's still going to explode. And I feel like, yes, there is a fair amount of sort of denial, and in the same, but I also feel like they know that they are choosing to be in denial. Does that make sense? I feel, I mean, like,
Yes.
if I could smoke whatever it is they're smoking that makes them think that like things are okay, I want
Yeah.
that. Whatever strain that is, that one. Because I like, I don't want to segue too much, but I did see the movie Don't Look Up just recently, and what I had tweeted, I said, if that is a mood, I'm having it. The whole movie is my mood right now. I live out here in the middle of nowhere. Last year, we almost lost $10,000 worth of garlic seed because of the climate emergency. That's 6-7 years worth of time that we built. We didn't buy $10,000. We built $10,000 worth of seed, you know. And it's like, if it stays warm or gets warm too soon, it's all gone. We can't recover from that. That's how close me and my family are here on this little property. I mean, the climate emergency isn't coming, it's here. And we're in it right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
Margot, not a lot of people may know you're referencing a farm or a farm life. Can you kind of let people know you grow your own food?
Yes.
Just so they know what you're referring to. Please, if you can kind of just let us in on what that is or what you're talking about.
So we're not from Central Maine. I'm originally a New Yorker. My husband is from Boston. And 7 years ago, we moved here to the middle of nowhere to grow our own food. And so so we grow our own produce. We used to go to market. We don't really go to market right now because my kids play football. And but the other crop that we grow for money, like our bumper crop, is garlic. It's organic garlic. And so last year we planted 3/4 of an acre worth of seed alone is $10,000. You know, it should have been much, much more than that in return. But of course, the market is gone, and we're sitting on all the garlic. We can't sell it because the restaurants are all closed and everything. You know, like we talk about, I mean, like we're always sort of in poverty out here. It's one of the things I love about Central Maine is we're all poor, so it's all cool. We're all fine with it. And then, but the pandemic really cut off kind of whatever I mean, it exacerbated the situation so much that now whoever, and the truth of the matter is we actually fared pretty well until recently. And so we were pretty lucky for most of the time. And now it's just like, it's out of control. And if we stand to lose, you know, the farm and our crops, I mean, we can't recover from that. There just is no recovery from that.
Yes, Margot is on Twitter. Do you have your Twitter name in your title here? Let me see if it's in there.
Yes, it's just at Margot Lee.
There it goes. Yeah. Yeah. So very simple. So yeah, follow Margot. Not a lot of people know this, but Margot and I hooked up way before I started doing podcasts. Like I originally, maybe it was at coincide at the same time. I originally was doing a website where I wanted to do write articles, and she was one of the people that was writing articles for that website, and she wrote some great articles, one of which was she talked about her farming. So we have a long history. First time though on air together, so that is awesome. So let's switch gears to a little lighter story. Maybe it's not a lighter story, but the story of the CDC, updating their guidelines and just the reaction. I wasn't aware that it was such a big reaction to it until I saw a couple of news stories that actually reported on the negative reaction that it was getting. I thought it was just, us on Twitter that kind of was like going in on it. So I, looked up, I searched CDC and Big Pharma, and this article popped up here, or this item popped up here. CDC disclaimer: hide financial conflict. I'm sorry, is it showing here? Am I showing? Yeah. High financial conflict. So this is related to the story of the guidelines changing. I'm trying to give a little backstory to the conversation. So I'm going to read a little section here. CDC disclaimer: hide financial conflict of interest. Okay, I'll read the whole thing. So if you browse website for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, you will soon find the CDC disclosure statement. Now, I'm going to read this CDC disclosure statement. Okay, so this is what they say. So CDC, our planners, content experts, and their spouses, partners wish to disclose they have no financial interest or other relationship with the manufacturers of commercial products, suppliers of commercial services, or commercial supporters. Planners have reviewed content to ensure there is no bias. CDC does not accept commercial support. That is an outright fabrication. Now,
It's a
maybe
lie. It's a lie. It's a fucking
right.
lie.
I tried to be a little more diplomatic by using the word
It's okay, that's
fabrication.
They fucking lie like a motherfucker. Nigga, all
But
them
yes,
niggas,
as Liv said, that is a lie. Now, legally, they're using specific words so that technically this is not like a lie, technically, but this is a lie. And this article kind of explained, despite the claim that the CDC does not accept commercial support, this agency does indeed have financial ties to industry organizations through government chartered foundations. Congress has created foundations for many government organizations, including the Food and Drug Administration, the NIH, the Center for Disease, or the CDC, the supplemental agencies funding for to supplement, let me say that again, to supplement the agent's funding for specific project and encourage more public-private partnership. Let me zero in on a couple of things. Public-private partnership, what this really means is government corporation partnership. That's what this means here. The government is the public in this situation, and the private is the corporation. They're using categories to describe who they are instead of who they actually are. Right here. So this is what happens when you have a bunch of lawyers running the government, a bunch of crooked lawyers running the government, right? So they do things like this. They have a disclaimer here when they're clearly lying and they're taking money because they set up foundations and other things and they funnel money through other ways, right? And it's not just the CDC. And they're using it to supplement, and it's for specific projects. So essentially, Pfizer and other pharmaceutical companies, for example, funded FDA or helped to fund the FDA. I forget the percentage. I believe it used to be like 40% or something near that. How are they funding the FDA, who regulates them, 40%? Do you think they would approve a bunch of things? Do you think the CDC is going to say, hey, if the Delta CEO calls and say, hey, we help fund you, or I'm part of the ruling class that helps fund you, can you cut the quarantine days in half? Can you do that for me? Can you do that for me, buddy? And they all of a sudden come out with it, right? Like, that's when this comes into play. That's when this article comes into play. So I do want to get everybody's thoughts on this. I want to start with Margot and then go to Rome. But like, what have you seen, your reaction, Margot, on Twitter, if you've been on Twitter or just in general, or your reaction? And it doesn't, if it's different than ours or mine, don't feel like you have to agree with us. But the CDC cutting like they've cut a bunch of different guidelines, or they changed a bunch of guidelines. But the one a lot of people are pointing to is cutting the quarantine time in half, specifically because the Delta CEO requested that of the CDC. Had you heard about this? And if you have, what are your thoughts? What are your reaction to that reaction? People's reaction to that?
Well, I'm old enough to remember when the CDC also said that 3 feet was the same as 6 feet.
Right.
I remember.
Live is on one today. Live is on one today.
I'm also old enough to remember when they said that educators could go back to work without a vaccine safely. I'm also old enough to remember when the CDC put educators on top of the high-risk list for boosters. High-risk environment. I'm also old enough to remember when they let the law that provided sick days for educators to quarantine or stay home expire. And now they're telling me that 5 days is the same as 10. So, sure, right? I mean, it's laughable. I wrote it down. I said it isn't lighthearted, but it's laughable.
Yeah.
Happening now. And to be honest with you,
She breaking up bad.
Breaking up a little bit, Margo. Breaking up a little bit there. Okay, I think it
probably
caught up.
past 4 o'clock here.
What does that mean? When it's past 4 o'clock, what happens?
Everyone gets on their internet, and our internet slows down.
Okay, I can hear you, so that's good. Now we can hear you a lot better. Okay, all right. Sorry for that, but we caught about 90% of it before it started to kind of cut out. So I'll go to Liv, since you were kind of already kind of fired up about it, and then I'll let Rome kind of round it out. The CDC, what is your reaction to everything? The CDC, everything that just Margo just pointed out. I forgot about all of that. How they said this and changed that, and how they said this and they changed that. Like, I forgot all about that. So Liv, it's the floor is yours. What are your thoughts on all of this?
So all those things Margo said are true, and I remember because we all lived through it. It happened. It happened like a year ago. But let's go back even a little further and say this is the same CDC that branded AIDS as GRID, gay-related immunodeficiency. Like, they branded it. They gave AIDS the whole stigma. The CDC did that. Fauci did that decades ago. And we're still, I even got caught up in this lie. I was going to school, actually before I went back to school for my master's in public health and epidemiology, I was like, wow, the CDC, that would be great. They have like all their branches everywhere across the world. Like, go do all this. They have the USAID. They have all these different governmental organizations that you can like work and collaborate with. I was like, this sounds great. And then you do more and more research into it, just like you do with anything with the history. And you're just like, this is a shit show. What the hell? How is this still functioning? And you just see like all, the AIDS epidemic is a portion of something that I'm really passionate about. And just hearing like the whole mishandling of that by the US government in the CDC is just kind of like, well, why would I think it would get any better in the first place? So, here comes COVID-19 and here we are. They're already, we already knew they were bought by corporations. And here they are, literally this supposed to be scientific community is now making guidelines based on what CEOs request. And that, like, as someone who is like a public health professional and a scientist, that is just, I don't even know how to say it, beyond heartbreaking to let that conflict of interest that is going to cost lives happen. That, like, it's like when you take an oath as a doctor, like, to do no harm. Like, how can you work for this public health agency and commit these atrocities that are going to hurt people, that are going to get people killed? How?
What's shocking to me Rome, and maybe this is an indication that we're in the late stage of this empire, is that they're doing it right in the open. Like it's not even hidden. Like, hey, can you do this? Like they're not care that people are even knowing this, and the media aren't covering it like it should be covered as a scandal. They're just kind of, hey, check this out. Okay, now let's talk about January 6th. So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, Rome, on any part of this or anything you wanted to comment on?
I mean, yeah, these are the same people that, like Liv said, these are the same people that's been running the show since the AIDS whole shebang, and you know how they did them, like holy crap, like,
terrible.
Yeah, and I mean, come on now. This is why we can't even as socialists and everything that we know about this government and whatever. I know it can be heartbreaking when we have people here that's supposed to help us, but we know how systems and corporations work under a capitalist society. Like all funny stuff aside, somebody had pointed out the dude at the FDA, he go over, you know, saying from the CDC with a fake mustache, like, how can I help you? But he does actually control both of those, you know, jobs. And
yes,
like,
he does.
That's another conflict of interest and whatnot. And like, it's so crazy. And how these people actually just don't care and really put money over people. But we can't be too surprised when people who claim that they're here for us actually aren't. You know what I'm saying? You see this stuff happen in your day-to-day life. Imagine people with, you know, power, you know what I'm saying, at their fingertips, or millions of dollars, contracts, or whatever it is that they can get, they can live freely. And I've seen people kill for less. So
yeah. It's unfortunate. Now, I do want to say this because I always want to say it. This is not a anti-vax video or rant. This is simply saying a government entity that the people should have faith in can't have faith in it because of these types of dealings. Now,
I don't
let's say
want to hear shit from them niggas, bro. Fuck them and fuck them. Fuck all that. Fuck that whole conversation. Fuck everybody that's in it, bro. Because you know what? If they took that energy and just keep pushing for Medicare for all, universal health care, we will be somewhere right now. But you guys want to push for mandates and bullshit like that because you guys really don't have a fight. You don't have a real fight. Right. You know, you're not out here like socialists. You're not out here, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, creating mutual aid groups and whatnot, and actually feeding people and knowing what people actually need, like healthcare. That's gonna actually combat a disease. You know what I'm saying? Help people.
Right. Why aren't they doing that, Rome? Like, this is a question for everybody. Think about this. We're in a pandemic, people are dying. Instead of talking about pushing a vaccine, why aren't you pushing just healthcare? Why aren't you pushing healthcare for those who get it and need to go to the hospital? For those preventive care. What about kids? Like, how about that? Wouldn't that make sense as a scientific solution?
And, Nick pointed it out already that I believe Nick did the story or the study, or it was somebody did a study. It was this could have prevented 42% of the deaths. This was earlier in the year. You know what I'm saying? Before we had 1 million deaths on our hands. That could have prevented 42% of those deaths, a universal health care system. But see, the reason it probably are people that's out there pushing for healthcare, but we will only see the mandate shit because that's what they want. You know what I'm saying? Like, they want control over us. They want to lock you up, lock you down, and shoot you up and do this and that, whatever, with your body. And it's crazy how the same motherfuckers who was saying my body, my choice is like, do what I tell you to do. Like, whether you take the vaccine or not, I don't care, because I'm not gonna be around you. Like, more likely I'm around homeless people and all them vaxxed. You know, so a lot of them are vaxxed. So
so that's a good question you bring up, Rome, is that, do you think they're pushing mandates as a wedge issue, or do you think they really believe they're going to convince people to take the shot?
About what the fuck we really needed, we will start talking as a class. So we don't even see niggas as white, black, Arab, or any of that shit, bro. We're talking as a class now. We really need this right now. Like
but what does this do,
people on a
Rome?
ventilator? You know what I'm saying?
What does unvaccinated versus vaccinated do? It's another way of separating us, right? It's another way of separating us. So maybe the duopoly figured out a way. Hey, this is another separation issue we can use to wedge people, because it's just, I just think it's so absurd when how people are just getting upset at, and maybe it's because I don't watch corporate media a lot, so maybe there is a fever pitch that's going on with the pandemic that I just don't feel. I don't have that same feel because people that I know aren't dying like they were in the beginning of the pandemic. People I know don't have it. Most of the people I know are vaccinated. But to the point, and I'm going to bring it back to everybody else, to the point I was saying earlier, is that this is not about vaccinations versus non-vaccinations. This is just this story about the CDC is about, we don't have any government entity that we can have faith in.
No.
Like the CDC or the FDA could have been one of the last few that some people still had a moniker of belief and trustworthiness. That's over. Like that is gone. This is so blatant. So yeah, that's all I had to say on this particular topic. Any last
do what
comments?
you
Go
want.
ahead, Ron.
Stop telling people what the fuck to do. Do what you want. But you know what? Fight for healthcare, because you know what? We will have the fucking money. We will have all those beds that y'all are complaining about the unvaccinated are taking up.
Right.
We will have the fucking beds. We will have more money for hospitals. We will have the things that we need. So push for healthcare over everything. Y'all motherfuckers want to be in tribes so bad.
Right.
So
they want to be in a red blue fight so bad.
Yeah. Get out of that Twitter mindset and fight with your people. Stop fighting your people. Like I put a Crooked Eye quote on my Twitter a couple of days ago. Don't blame me for how my mind worked. I'm not the one who brainwashed it.
Yeah,
but what I mean by that is fight with your neighbors. Don't fight your neighbors. You know what I'm saying? Because you can always, once y'all start talking about what's really going on, y'all gonna figure out, y'all gonna start coming up with ways to really join a revolution for real, or make one your damn self.
Right. It just takes a part of when that pain hits that person to wake them out of their slumber. It obviously has already hit us. All of us have going through our own personal thing, and Margaret was just talking about how climate change is already affecting her crops. We've seen Live Out supporting the water protectors. We see Rome doing his tour for the poor. Like we're doing our part, and we want to bring more people on. I'm going to be bringing this episode to a close in just about 20 minutes, just giving all of you a heads up on that. And that's why I'm kind of winding it down. But before I do that, what I wanted to say, or what I was just saying, kind of tying everything together, tying Joe Biden's poll numbers together, tying in the CDC, obvious, co-opting by corporations, big pharma. We're not going to get out of this with electoral politics. It doesn't mean don't do electoral politics. Fight every avenue, at every corner. Fight every corner. And it's going to take the streets. It's going to take building a community, and RBN is trying to do that. We're trying to learn as we're teaching to build community, not depend on these people, grow our own foods. Margot is a good resource for that. Logan is another good resource for that. Build our mutual aid infrastructure, help people with rent, buy from each other instead of buying from corporations. Like if we really could build something like that, it'll be like, oh, they're on the news passing bills. We would be like, that's so cute, they passed the bill, look at them, they passed the bill, that's nice. And we would just go about our day. You know what I mean? We'll go about doing whatever it is we wanted to do. So, just as summing everything, tying everything together, I'll start with Margot. It's sort of like, what are some of your last sort of thoughts? This isn't your last time talking, but just some of your tying up sort of comments about all of this, the state that we're in as a nation, as Americans.
I wonder if I have more questions about. I love talking to my neighbors. because I have a background in counseling, so I really love talking to people. I can draw lots of the information out of them. And I have less of a statement than I am just like a declared curiosity in what people are really feeling out there right now. Like I know what like my family, how we're doing. My shitlib boomer neighbor, she's coming around. I have a lot of really good conversations with our red voting for neighbors and stuff like that. And I wonder how long it's gonna be from here before it really does finally pop off.
The tipping point. Yeah, the tipping point.
Because we're getting ever closer. And I mean, we talked about like crime, happy people don't commit crime, right? So if you give us healthcare and a living wage and, happy people, we're not happy people right now, really not happy. And more and more of us are becoming unhappy enough to really start getting frustrated about it. And so I don't know. I have less of a statement than I am. I mean, coming to the end of this year is really interesting. Tomorrow's my birthday, by the way. What's up?
Oh, happy birthday. Happy
47 years young.
birthday.
Happy birthday. Oh, damn. I thought you was younger than
What?
me. That's what's up.
Oh, you was in your 20s. Oh, wow. Well,
anyway.
what are you doing anything special, like growing some crops or like that for your birthday tomorrow?
I may be partaking in crops. Like I do every day.
Yes. How is that crop out there in Maine? How is that crop out there in Maine?
Well, it's funny because so like Maine was one of the first states to legalize medically and also recreationally. And it's been really interesting to watch how the state administration, we first had a Republican in charge and now we have a Democrat, and sort of how the rules and regulations around all of that have changed. And it's interesting that with the Democrats in charge, things have gotten sort of worse around that. A lot of out-of-state big corporations are coming in. They were setting up a lot of like the requirements that require, like everyone had to have cameras on their fields, and you have to pay this monthly subscription, and you have to, and they can't guarantee that no one's watching the cameras. And it's like, it just got so crazy. We just.
It's like capitalism coming in and fucking shit up, just like capitalism coming in and messing.
Well, it's another reason.
Messing a good thing up.
How you fuck up weed, bro?
You capitalists. Man, it's terrible. I mean, that's one of the things why I like. I mean, the weather and the cannabis is why I like living in California. To be honest with you, like if it wasn't cannabis and weather, like it's really no need to be in California. Like to be in California because climate change here. I think we're gonna feel it with the heat. It's already hot and it's like hotter days. I mean, I can imagine in Vegas. In Vegas, it's already 110, and I'm hearing it's 118 one time. And it's like this shit is like getting crazy. So happy birthday, Margot! Again, thank you for that. Shout out. Another happy birthday for you. So you're a December baby. Also, I'm a December baby. I have a daughter who's also a December baby. So coming to the end of the year. Yeah, all right. So Liv, same sort of thing. What are your sort of connecting everything together? What for humanity, like what are we to do? What is the future for us? What are we, the corruption of our government as displayed in the CDC, in the money that they take, corporations are people. I meant to say this earlier, but I think that ruling has more to do with them being ruled as a human than the donations. I always thought that, and I finally heard somebody say that. I always thought them being classified as a human is the bigger deal to me, being classified as a human. So, but what are your thoughts on all of that, tying everything together? What hope do we have as humans of surviving this and making lives better?
I think just keep doing what we're doing by having these conversations, because I think especially like with what some people are getting confused about by is who the enemy is, because between the propaganda and the distractions of the collapse of capitalism, it's easy to be like Trump, Biden, red, blue, MAGA, and start pointing fingers at like teams instead of really being like the collective working class is struggling and the ruling class, the 1%, is the enemy. And that's who's in control. That's who has tapped and corrupted all these institutions. That is what we're fighting against. Because, Margot's shitlib boomer probably doesn't know who the enemy is. She's probably thinking like, it's that.
Oh, she's a friend. She's a friend. So
she's a friend. If she's still like very much in the liberal blue MAGA mindset. That's a very, that's a polarizing way of thinking, a black and white way of thinking, where it's this red team and a blue team. So having those conversations with your neighbors, with your friends that feel comfortable, having those vulnerable conversations where you can be like, yeah, what's bothering you? And really, gauge the conversation in a way of like, this is where your problems are coming from. It's not like these people that are the problem. It's this system that is the problem.
Right.
And really,
so uncovering the bad guy. It sounds like what you're describing is uncovering who the real bad guy is. Uncovering who the real bad guy is.
You gotta identify that, because I mean, we always, especially as Americans, there's always been a bad guy. There's always been an otherized thing for us to say, like, be careful, beware. We always do that. So the way our minds are already programmed to have this bad guy, it's like, fine, we'll give you the bad guy. Here's the fucking bad guy. Go after this motherfucker now. This is who you're fighting. So to point them out and say, this is the enemy and this is how we fight back, by mutual aid, by talking to each other, by supporting each other, by caring for each other, by giving an alternative path. That is how we help make this happen.
Absolutely. I was just reading some of the comments as you were speaking, and some people are getting it, and I that gives me hope. People are waking up. People are, you talk about Margot's liberal friend who says, like, capitalism doesn't seem to be working. That is key, and it's key that she is waking up to capitalism. You can wake up to a lot of stuff. Democrats, her waking up to capitalism is going to open her eyes to so many other things, and that to me is key. So whether Rome or Liv or Margot or I wake somebody up to capitalism or to a general strike or to worker rights or labor movement, like whatever it is that somebody gets a connection from us, this is why we have to keep talking. We have to platform other people. Liv is over at the Populist Voice. She's bringing on people. JB started his network. He's bringing on Rome. We have to create these interconnected channels, because this is how we're going to build a network, build a community to defeat these people. And Rome, I'm going to give you your thoughts, your final thoughts on kind of summing all of this up, with your work with Tour for the Poor, with my mutual aid, with our we're really political educators. We're not podcasters. That's what I'm going to start using. We're political educators. So, with our political education network, with, all of our comrades, with, Fiorella and Comrade Misty and Ryan Knight and all of our other comrades, like, it's time that we all get together and come together. It feels like everybody's still doing their own thing, good things, but separate, when we need to all kind of like come together. But what are your thoughts, Rome, on all of this revolution and what needs to happen?
I mean, we're gonna have to come together. I mean, that's gonna be, first of all, I feel like we are together. People are doing their own things and whatnot, because it's different strokes for different folks. They can't talk about a lot of black on black crime or shit like that. So some people stick to foreign policy or whatever it is that they can do to teach. So pull in whoever you can, and then we're gonna bring them all together with we're gonna bring everybody together with whoever we have at the time. So I think it's gonna be a time where we're gonna come together, like everybody meet up here and there. It's gonna be those times, but I think Americans are idiots, and a lot of us learn at a different pace. You know what I'm saying? We learn at different steps. So it's gonna take probably for you to listen to me talk about this and that or mutual aid and whatnot. Then you go up a notch to whoever, and then you go up from there and go up from there. So it's levels to it. We learn slow as hell compared to these other people, man. But we're gonna get it together and we're gonna keep it together, man. But as far as being political educator, yeah, I say that we're political educators, we activists, revolutionary, however you want to say it, freedom fighters, but overall, what I'm saying, we got to remember that we're leaders, man. We're leaders, and try not to get, because once this shit once all this shit really take off, I have to remind myself, I don't have, like I said before, you don't have to remember where I come from if I just don't leave, But that's one thing that's gonna keep you in the game, keep your head in the game, knowing what you did this for, talking to the people that motivate you to actually get out here to lift your voice up and actually help people and the lives that you want to change, so just be one with your community, and we will win, man. It's gonna take some hard work. It's gonna take us to do a lot of shit, man. But I think if we stop letting them divide us on what the narrative is for this month, we'll be better off. You know what I'm saying? We can really actually talk to each other during this global pandemic, like we should be doing as neighbors. Even if you don't like this person's political beliefs and whatnot, I'm gonna tell you right now, the most y'all can do is probably hurt each other, throw stuff on each other's lines. Y'all could take each other's lives, whatever, but I'm just saying, your neighbor can't do half as much as what these people can do to you or already have done to you. As far as your job or your wages, for one, they still stagnant after 30 years. So 30 plus years. So we're gonna just take advantage of this time. We're gonna come together, but I try not to rush certain Americans who's not in these political spaces and whatnot. But yeah, just have patience for your neighbor.
Yeah. What you said to your point about dividing us. There's this video I watched. I can't remember on what it was. One of those nightly news, but it was a good illustration of breaking down, just talking to each other, how it break down walls. Now, there was a white guy and I think it was a trans person. And the trans person separately, they were interviewed. Trans person hated conservatives, like hated so each one described in their own way how they hated the other, right? How they hated the other, not knowing each other specifically. And then they did this experiment where they came together thinking it's on about something completely different, not conservative, not talking, and they're just talking. They don't know he's a conservative. The other one doesn't know this person is a trans person. They're just talking, having the conversations, laughing and laughing. Then somebody's voice comes over. Hey, what's really going on is you're a conservative and this person is a trans person. You both say you hate each other, but you've been getting along. And they're just kind of go, oh. Then they start talking about the issues they disagree with respect.
Yeah.
Then they start talking about and saying, okay, I don't agree with you, but I can respect your position. When it's before, it's just you get what I'm saying? That's what the duopoly does not want us to do.
Yep.
They don't want us to talk, because if we talk, we're going to realize that, hey, yeah, there's things that we disagree on, but I'm not at your throat. I don't think you should die. I
And
want you to
just
have
as
health
much,
care. You get what I'm saying? Go ahead,
just as
Ron.
much as these motherfuckers think that liberals are brainwashed, you conservatives are brainwashed. Even to call yourself a conservative, what are you conservative about? Like, what the fuck? But
Conservatives should be for defund the police.
yeah,
Conservatives, if you're conservative,
yeah.
you're about, because you're
Small
throwing
government.
money at the police state that's you're not getting a return. You know, their solving crime rate is in the single digits, I believe. Like, you're not getting a return on your money. So if you're a conservative who believes in fiscal conservativeship, or whatever the word is, you should be for defund the police.
Yep.
Because you're not getting a return on your money. But anyway, that's just an example. So that's my kind of final thoughts. I want to go to all of you to kind of say, what you got coming up. Like, Rome, if your show coming up, if you got something coming up, if you're going on somebody's show, Live, your show, Margot, if you're whatever you got coming up. I know, I don't know if you're writing again. So I'll start with Liv. What do you got coming up, Liv, in the future, in the next week or so?
Oh goodness. Okay. Well, now that we have our temporary housing figured out, and the holidays are kind of winding down, we're getting back into straight out of politics. I'm doing my show Live Positive on the Populist Voice Network at 7 p.m. on Fridays. I am getting back involved with mutual aid work and collabing with Rome for Tour for the Poor. I'm trying to raise money right now to do a mutual aid supply run to get supplies for kits, which will be handed out to friends who are unhoused. And really just working on that. I'm really excited to be getting back into mutual aid and expanding that. And also keeping y'all updated on what farm life is like and what's going on here. And also what will be happening with our permanent home situation and the fundraiser to happen with that. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that is something. Yeah, the bus fundraiser and everything we will be doing hopefully in January with Liv. And let's go to Margot. Do you have anything coming up? The more you, I think this is the second appearance on our network. So the more you come, the more you're gonna be asked. So just know people are gonna start asking you to come on. So but do you have anything coming up? Are you working on anything? What are you doing in your community? How is it going with the growing? Any other growers in your community? Any other local growers in your community having issues? Like, what do you have going on?
Well, right now we're in winter mode. Winter is actually considered our social season because during the summer we work too much. I do work off the farm though, so I'm mostly involved in things education wise, and I don't have my own channel yet. People keep telling me to do it, and I keep not doing it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm on winter vacation right now, so maybe I'll put something together. I don't know. I got nothing going on. What you see is what you get.
Well, you just mentioned a couple of things, so you have something going on, and I think a lot of people. I think Liv is one of them. You first start, you're kind of skeptical of doing it. Now Liv is streaming left and right all the time, like, and I love seeing that transition. So I can see that happening in you also, Margot, and who was Rome. Rome, what do you have coming up? What's happening on Rome's Rebellion? When is that coming up? You making any other appearances? Tell people about when you're going to be in New York. Anything else you got going on?
Shit, I'll be in New York right after my birthday, January. My birthday the 16th, but I want to leave like the 17th, 18th, so I can be out there like a day before. So actually get shit going, you know what I'm saying? So I gotta hit stores, I gotta get the feel of the neighborhood, and I gotta do it in like 2 days. And I got a couple of groups of people out there, so I might be doing a speech or a march or a protest, depending on how big the group gets after we are out doing it. But everything is going to be posted live. If not, it's going to be recorded, posted on Twitter, YouTube, Revolutionary Blackout Network. Rose Rebellion. I'm remodeling my house, so it's kind of hard for me to like. You see,
yeah, your normal background is not the normal background you have. Yeah,
I'm by my fireplace right now, but I'm trying to do something with, you know what I'm saying, with my shit. So Rose Rebellion, I'm probably going to do another one in a couple of days, probably 2 days from now. Once I actually get a couple more things I need down here. And Tour for the Poor. Oh, the thrift store I'm building in Detroit. Y'all, if you want to donate to me, I got to go find me up. That's on my Twitter, Unholy Rome, with a 3 at the end instead of the E. It's 3. But
yeah, just you see his name there, just add the 3 at the end there.
Yeah, and
find him.
That's about it. I got Liv working for me. I'm working on expanding Tour for the Poor. So we're gonna have more people in different cities working with us in their communities and whatnot. So that's gonna be a beautiful thing. Hopefully we can stretch this thing out throughout the 50 states. If not, we're gonna try our best. So that's about it.
Yeah. Lots of good stuff. Just happy to hear all of you doing anything, and Margot potentially doing a channel. As far as for me, I got like I mentioned earlier, I got the mutual aid. What is it? It's called Mutual Aid Forever. I will quickly share my Twitter. I told you, but this is it. I don't have the graphics. This is what I'm waiting for. I'm gonna get a graphic. So this is not my regular logo. That's just what I'm using now. But Mutual Aid Forever. That is it. So Mutual Aid, then the number 4, and then ever. So Mutual Aid Forever. Follow us. Helping families in LA area pay rent, monthly bills, groceries, and transportation. And then there's the Cash App, Venmo, Mutual Aid Forever. Got a new email, Mutual Aid Forever. We will be setting up a PayPal with that same email. Is not set up yet, but if you do want to save that email, Mutual Aid Forever at Gmail. Working on some business cards. I'm gonna get a website up. Hopefully that'll be up for the launch. The launch will be February 1st. And again, I'll read the only post that's there is, we're a mutual aid group founded by Compton J, dedicated to helping people and communities in Compton, Los Angeles, and Long Beach. Our current goal is to raise $5,000 for rental and utility bill assistance. We want to assist those on the verge of being unhoused. So that's going to be our first project as a group, as a mutual aid group, is to raise the $5,000 for that, and hopefully we're able to get that amount or close to it by February 1st. We'll be doing some fun. I'll be doing some live streams to fundraise for it before that. So make sure you go follow and check that out. Very important. I'm finally jumping in and into the mutual aid game and trying to do what we can. It begins here. And everybody is just, like I said earlier, just seeing people who have known on Twitter who didn't have a show, and then now I'm looking like everybody got a show, everybody's doing something, and that transition is what we're talking about. We're all going from doing not much to just having the right theory, right beliefs, so now we're all putting that into action. And really, that's the only purpose of theory is it's not worth anything until you actually put into action. So thank you for everybody who watched, everybody who will be watching this on the replay, everybody in the comments. I'm sorry we didn't get to a lot of comments like normal, but thank you for making those comments. Great conversations. Until next time, when I will be on next Monday is the Nick and Jay show, 8 p.m. Eastern. Back here next Wednesday. So see everybody. Oh, today's Wednesday. Nothing tonight. Tomorrow is the roundtable. So roundtable tomorrow. Around same time, 5:30 ish Eastern. I think is usual time they have it. So look for that tomorrow. Other than that, signing off. Talk to everybody later.